As an example piece here, I've just cut off our landing gear here. I do believe this is the front landing gear, maybe, or maybe not, I'm not sure. But basically, when a mould is made, you have two halves, they come together, they inject it with plastic, and these two halves make like a whole piece like so. So what you generally sometimes have is there's potentially going to be, you probably can't see it on camera, but we do have like a seam line running just along here, and it goes all the way around because the two halves of the mold, right, have brought it together to make it a whole. So we've got like a very faint bit of a seam line going along here. They are hard to see, but you know, when you get into professional modeling, you're potentially going to be like doing things like washes and stuff, and washes will pick up these bits of a seam line and they'll bring them out and show them, and it's going to look a bit off. So another good thing to do is, you know, as you're cutting them off and sanding off your tabs and stuff, is just maybe run a blade very lightly along these seam line edges, and it basically just sands it away. Right. Now I know you could come on with skinny sticks and stuff, but again we're all going basic here. I mean, I do find that a blade just nicely sorts out these little seam lines, and we can just scrape them along, scrape them out, and that's all gonna be nicely good. And you won't see any sort of seam lines then or anything like that. So it's all, everything we want to be nice and seamless. So we'll crack on doing that. So before we move on with the cockpit, as you can see, I've like cut out all our little pieces, just following our instructions and cutting off the cockpit section. Had a lot of feedback actually from you guys on Facebook, emails, that kind of stuff. You really like the idea of sort of going cheap on a build, me putting myself in a new person's shoes. So what I did, I went out and I brought a load of stuff basically, because what people seem to want to see is me not use my airbrush at all. So as much as it pains me not to, you really want to see a really sort of cheap, hardly spend any kind of money. So I have gone off and I did buy a bunch of stuff just to kind of show you some of the stuff you may want to need. I did show you sanding sticks earlier in the last episode, but you could so easily go off really cheap. I mean, there's so many sort of places out there you can go off and get things like cheap nail files. I mean, these were £1 a pack, as you can see. We've got all sorts of grits and stuff on here and different sizes and all this kind of stuff, so that will be quite cool. But what you want to try and do is try and find some sort of maybe a bit more of a finer sort of smoothing files. You've got polishing parts on it and buff parts and all these different kind of grits, so that we can, because these sanding sticks, these are going to be a bit on the coarse or the medium side of things, which is going to sort of get those seam lines nicely gone, but then the plastic's going to be a bit rough because it's been sanded with these coarse and medium sanding sticks. So something like smooths, fines and buffs and all this kind of stuff will get your plastic looking like plastic again, like the rest of the model. So you know, those are nice and easy. You know, we've got our good old sort of cotton wool buds, again mega cheap. I think this was like 40p. All sorts of stuff we can use that for. What else have we got in here? Bit of PVA glue, we might need that. I mean, there's all sorts of stuff as we go through this that we could go out and get. We've got some white tack that's going to be good for our two stage camo pattern. Really good. You want to get some of that. Have got some glass cleaning spray. We're going to take a look at this. I'm quite interested to see if we can use this as like a thinner for paint, because we're going to be taking paints. We want to be thinning them down to paintbrush them on. You can use water, but I'm going to see if this works. Basically it's IPA. If you want to know about thinning paints, I've done a video on that on Genesis Models website. It's all about homebrew thinners, how to make your own homebrew thinners, and this is something you can just get in the shop really cheap, and it's got IPA in there, so we might have a dabble at that. Got a spray can because I'm not allowed to use my airbrush for this. Got ourselves a nice bit of an undercoat spray can. When it comes around to getting a spray can, something like white or grey. I mean, at this stage, you know, I mean, there's all sorts of colours and different types of primers you can use, but something that's white or grey, that's got like a matte finish, should be good. Nice, easy, quick drying, durable, all that stuff. As you can see, it's only £1.49. Really dirt cheap, and this is going to prepare our surface lovely and nicely for any kind of painting we're going to be doing. There is a whole bunch of other stuff in here. I'm probably best not showing yet. We've got some cocktail sticks. These are good for all sorts of things. Really nice to keep that kind of stuff about. I have got a few other things in here which I don't want to sort of bog you down with loads of stuff yet until we sort of get to the different stages. But as you can see, you could go out and for like a couple of quid, £10, buy a load of little kind of bits and bobs here and there to sort of help you with your build, and so really want to now get on with our cockpit section here. As you can see, I've nicely got it all trimmed and all that kind of stuff. Another thing you might want to go out and get, nice, cheap and easy, something you'll be using probably a lot of, is kitchen paper towels, because when we do any sort of like spray work, paint work, it's good just to kind of have it there to sort of stop messing up your work surface and catch any paint. We're going to be using our spray can now. Now when using these kind of spray cans, it's probably best that you get up, go outside, spray outside, 'cause probably at this stage you haven't got things like extractor fans and face masks, which you know, we've got stuff like this. These are a bit more expensive, maybe £30, but they are really good for protecting your health. But you can go out, you know, I mean, for like 90p or something, like less than £1, you could probably get a couple of these. This is at least an half decent face mask. You know, at least probably get these, you know, when you go outside with your spray can. Put this on as well. All good just to keep your lungs nice and healthy in this hobby. But I'm just going to quickly sort of show you using the spray can. I've got my extractor fan over there, which I'll put on later when I turn the camera off. You really want to give it a damn good shape. Get the ball bearing that inside there, really sort of shaking that up. You want to keep it room temperature as well. I mean, the problem is, I mean, with our airbrush, we're going to get nice spray patterns and everything. But with a spray can, I mean, these nozzles aren't really the best. They can go down quite not so feathered and smooth, right? And if you've sort of got the temperature too cold and it's not a room temperature, it can really sort of splutter and go all nasty and stuff. Not only that, after you've used it just once, these nozzles on here can start to dry up, and then, you know, the next day you might want to come around and use it and it starts spluttering because your nozzle's all dried up on the end. So I mean, really, you kind of either want to use the whole can in one go, or once you've finished, take this nozzle off and like soak it in some sort of thinners, depending on what type of spray can this is, which I'm not quite sure. It's probably maybe something like enamel based or something like that. It'd probably tell you on the instructions somewhere to maybe sort of bathe it in acetone or something, which that was another thing I did buy. Some nail varnish remover. Some of these, this one's acetone free, this one's got acetone in it. Probably soak it in something like this, and these are all like, I don't know, less than £1 each. Good for sort of keeping things clean, like this kind of stuff. So you might want to use that. So first off, you might want to just sort of spray a little bit on an area, just to make sure. Oh no, that's lacquer base, definitely lacquer base. So the acetone nail varnish remover will sort that out. And what we want to do is sort of keep it at a distance of, you know, maybe like 10 centimeters, and just from a distance we're just going to spray this on, right? And as you can see, I mean, it's not the best of finishes with a spray can. We can see it being a little bit blotchy, but what we want to do is just do a quick misty coat. We really don't want to soak it, so as you know, we can see pooling up paint and everything, and that's drying rather nicely actually. Probably ready for another coat in a bit, but yeah, just sort of try and start off the model, because it seems to be like the first bit of a spray and it's quite blotchy, so it's sort of maybe come across. Oops, and as you can see, it is going to be rather tricky with a spray can, but you let it dry. And although this one looked a bit blotchy before, you know, we are sort of good to try and get a spray on there. You might want to sort of practice on a separate piece or something, just to try and you've got to sort of really sort of put a light bit of pressure on. Too much pressure, and as you can see, we end up with something like that, but it's not that bad. When that dries down, it should be okay. And as you can see, a little bit of pressure, and we're sort of building up a nice white bit of primer just on there. So it's just, you know, keep on you know, just give it a try. I mean, we've got all this kind of stuff here. We can sort of maybe test a piece and try and sort of get our spray in. You know, you've really just a little bit of pressure, a quick going across, and you should be good. As you can see, that's drying sort of not too bad. Have a bit of a practice. As I say, with spray cans, they are a bit more tricky, especially on these maybe little fiddly sort of bits. But when we get the whole model together and we've got more of a big piece to play around with, it might not be so bad. But for the cockpit area, the little pieces, it is a bit sort of fiddly. You might want to just jump into actually just using a paintbrush. But the whole point of spraying it is you get this nice finish on the as a base to start doing some paintbrushing. Paintbrushing straight onto bare plastic isn't sort of like the best start, shall we say, but you know, going onto a nicely primed surface, it just helps the paint stick better to the model. It gives you like a nice smooth surface to work upon, and it just makes everything more durable and better, and it just helps it stick a lot better. And with some of the, as we sort of move along, as you move along in this hobby, you'll find things out like polyurethane sort of primers, which those kind of primers really sort of help you and make your work look really nice and smooth, and make your spray work look absolutely gorgeous. But that's later on. For now, we're just, you know, nice cheap spray can, give it a spray, have a practice, you should be good.